This is just a little quick film about how I've made my own foot pedal for my TIG welder. So the TIG welder I bought is it's not an industrial grade one, it's what they call their consumer grade one. And I couldn't find a circuit diagram for it, but they do sell a more industrial sort of model. And I was actually able to find documentation for that, including the pinouts for the connector on the front of the machine. And in the instructions for my welder, it appears that you can use the same accessories that come with the more expensive welder on my cheaper home-based one. So I figured, well, if the same accessories plug in, the pinout's probably going to be the same. So turns out that was the case. Now, the connector they use, I managed to find on AliExpress. That's these ones here. I can't remember what they're actually called. There's a proper name for them. I can put it down in the description. I believe different welders will have different sorts of connectors. This just happens to be the sort that my welder uses. These are actually quite nice connectors. They're supposedly waterproof. They've got little O-rings and things in them. It's quite tricky to find well-priced multiple pin connectors like this. So these were quite handy to know about, and it actually came with both ends of the connector. So I've got the male and the female end. Now the other thing I did is, for the actual foot pedal, because like I say, mine's a home machine, it's not industrial for industrial use, what I decided to do was I bought, also off AliExpress, one of these cheap sewing machine foot pedals. Now these are what they use to control the motor, the little AC motor on sewing machines. And this one actually happens to be pretty much identical to the one that came on my proper Singer sewing machine. So what I did is I opened this up, and inside here there's a little circuit board. And normally this has a whole bunch of stuff on it. It's like a triac based speed controller. What I did is I basically took all that off and just left in the slider pot and the little micro switch. And the pot that comes with these, inside these, is quite a high value. So that's a 1 meg slider. So back to good old AliExpress again, and what I found was these, which are the same physical sort of size sliders. The pinout's slightly different, but close enough. And these are 10k, and that worked out to be the right sort of value for my welder. It's just wired as a simple voltage divider. So what I did is I modified the circuit board so I could fit one of these pots, and that gives me the right value, the right range. Now the way this works is this body it's effectively hinged at the top, and as you push down, this little wedge shaped piece pushes against this little piece of plastic with the spring on it, and that's what moves the pot. So you can see the pot there moves. Now what there was originally was there's this little plastic sort of cam piece which sits on top of the pot, that sort of sits on there, and what that does is that actuates the little micro switch there to turn the thing on and off. Now what I found with the original one is that the switch didn't actually turn on until the pedal was about halfway down, halfway along its travel. So what I did is I modeled up a new cam in Fusion 360 and just 3D printed it. So I've made my own version of this, slightly adjusted so that now the switch is actuated right at the end of the pot travel. So you might be able to hear it. It's tricky. So I'll put all this back together and try it out on the welder. So this is my welder. It's a very interesting effect going on here. I pointed the camera at it and it kind of looks like there's smoke coming from something, so I thought my pedal might have caught fire straight away. But it's not smoke, it's actually interference on the camera screen from the welder, causing sort of rising distortion, I guess you'd call it. It's very strange. But this is the welder. This is the the end of the cable that goes to the torch, and the torch is just a standard WP26, I think it's called, torch with a little button here. The interesting thing with this welder is that this button, if I can show it, is on a little circuit board, and this actually comes out. You can disconnect this. One thing I may play with is I've bought a little joystick switch combination, the sort of thing you find in PlayStation controllers, and I want to see if I can build a little thumb switch that actually clips into here, so that I've got a variable control on the actual torch itself. So I'm still waiting for that to arrive, but when that turns up I'll give that a try, because I should be able to make a little circuit board to fit it in, and of course 3D print up a new cover. This is the little cover piece, so I can make all that. So like I say, that's the connector that normally comes from the torch. This is disconnected now. This is what the connector is. It's a Waipu SP21 series connector. So you can find those on Ali. Like I say though, this is only for my welder. Different welders will use different connectors, but they should all be similar. So I've disconnected the control from the torch and plugged in my foot pedal. And it's a bit hard to see it going. I probably won't be able to actually show it when it's welding, but it basically just works like a normal sort of foot pedal. So because I changed the cam and the pot, with the new cam in there, it's basically, you only have to push it down very, very lightly before it turns on. And then you've got the full pedal range to control the amperage. So I'll give it a try and see how it works. Okay, that actually worked pretty well. It gives very good control. I'm surprised actually at how well that does work. So I'm very pleased with that. My welding's still crappy, but the main reason I wanted that is for the car, of course. So this is all built from aluminium. This has all been gas welded, which if I'm doing body work is what I'll continue to do. I'll still gas weld things. But I wanted the TIG for being able to do things like making that up there. I want to make a fuel tank. Obviously not out of cardboard, but that'll go in there in the boot of the car. And with the TIG welder, theoretically, I can make a tank out of aluminium. That's going to be fairly simple. Fit in there. The other thing I want to be able to make is, let me set that back on. Things like the seat frame. So I've got the base of the seat there, and I've got some aluminium angle there, and I want to be able to weld this to make up a frame for the seat and the seat back. The car's coming on reasonably well. I finished the bonnet. These straps are just kind of temporary, just to get some idea of what it'll look like, but yeah, it's sort of coming along.